Peter Drucker said, if you can measure it, you can manage it. And that's one of the reasons I love taking a good hard look at my finances with this annual money review. I first started doing an annual money review back in 2021. This was an idea I was introduced to by Rachel Rogers. She wrote the book, We Should All Be Millionaires, and I was part of her mastermind very briefly. And I think the most valuable thing I got out of her program was the annual money review. So this review has 4 components, and these are the 4 components. The first one is how much money did I bring in the previous year? The second component is what is my current net worth? The third component is what is my dream lifestyle? What would I like to be, do, and have? And the fourth component is how can I generate additional money to fund that lifestyle? So those are the 4 components of this annual money review. And I have I'll link the playlist that I did to this review in 2021. I didn't do one in 2022. And the reason for that is kind of multifaceted. I had a lot of events in 2022 and I didn't sit down to take the time to think about that. I got tripped up on one section in particular, and I'll mention that sort of later on in the video. But I really was excited to do this for 2022 going into 2023 and really take a look at my finances on a yearly level. Just to say, whatever time you're watching this video is the right time to start. If it's mid-year, feel free to do that for the previous 12 months or the previous calendar year. It's sometimes just cleaner to use the calendar year, but at any point is a good point to do an annual money review and to take a good look at your finances. So the first component, how much money did I bring in for 2022? And I have the numbers right down here, and I just put them in a very simple Google Sheets spreadsheet. And that number is $65,904.51. And that comprises income from 5 different sources. So there's my W-2 job, YouTube AdSense, Amazon influencer income, freelance income, and then income from my eBay business that I have of reselling items that I come across. So breaking it down, because I love transparency around money, I brought in roughly $64K from my W-2 job. From AdSense, we have $897.51. From eBay, that was $601.25, and this is all gross numbers. These are all gross numbers. From the Amazon influencer program, and if you're not familiar, that's where down in the description box, I'll have links to different items, and you can, if you click on those links, I get a very small percentage of anything that you buy off Amazon in the next 24 hours. I mean, we're talking like pennies. So that's where that comes from. And I think in total, that was $195.75 for the whole year, the 12 months. So it's not a huge amount. And then my freelance income was $210. And that came from some writing that I did, and then for some videos that I made independently. So that's my annual review. And I want to disclaim these numbers by saying that I have this is all pre-tax, this is all gross, but with the exception of my W-2 income, which includes deductions that I have as well. So taken off the top, so my W-2 income is net, everything else is gross. So I am responsible for paying taxes on that. It's not a huge amount, you'll see. So while it's not a huge amount, I have no shame about saying that I have been a chronic under-earner. These are my numbers right now, and I think clarity is very important. I love transparency and clarity, and I think that's continually ongoing, important. It's an important thing to know where you are, where you're starting from in order to get to where you want to be. I'll also say that this is probably the most that I've made to date. I used to be even lower than this. So I think that generally we're heading in the right trajectory, which is another benefit of doing this annual money review, is to see that I am going in the right direction. The next component of this annual money review is my net worth. And for that, I simply take the assets that I have and I subtract out the liabilities that I have, and that's the net worth that I'm left with. So for assets, I have 5 different accounts. 4 really, I try to forget about one, my sort of emergency fund savings. So I count that sort of indirectly. But the main accounts that I have are my 401k, my Roth IRA, a small revolving savings account that I use for any expenses that come up on a yearly basis. I use that to kind of save for upcoming yearly expenses like car insurance, which I pay twice a year, things like that, and then my checking account. So the total amount that I have in those 5 accounts is roughly $42,000. Then my liabilities, I'm including a student loan, credit card balances, and hospital bills that I incurred last year for the birth of my child. And that comes out to roughly $22,650. So my total net worth is $19,773. So again, this is much lower than where I should be for my age, and this is something that I'm actively working to improve. As far as the student loan balance goes, I'm always wondering about where to include this, especially since there's all that talk about student loan forgiveness. For the purposes of this money review, I've included the full amount. I think there's forgiveness potential of up to $10,000. So that may come down the road, in which case my net worth would increase, which would be a great thing. But I'd rather have that be a nice surprise than something that I'm counting on. So that's how I calculate my net worth, and that's what I'm working with going into this next year. The third component of an annual money review is the dream lifestyle component. If I could have any lifestyle in the world, what would my dream life look like? And this is a question that actually tripped me up last year. I have a blank page in my notebook for this, and it was just, it stymied me. Like, this is the page. I didn't even know where to start to address that question of my dream lifestyle, because it's tough to dream. And I feel like that's part of the problem for me, at least, is I know I want more, but it's putting that into a concrete expression that's the challenge. And then the next step is obviously putting a dollar amount to each item, and that's sort of another challenge. So I did some real hard thinking on this dream lifestyle component, and so I did some research as well. And I came across these 5 components of a dream life, and this is from an author named Doug Armey, A-R-M-E-Y, and that was via the website Quora. And he broke down the components of a dream lifestyle as being, what do you need? So food, water, and housing. What do you want? These are the 5 components. What do you need? What do you want? What do you already have? Who will you share it with? And when will you enjoy it? And this is one of the things that trips me up, is like, oh, I want name brand, luxurious, really well-made clothing. But if I have that and I don't have anyone to enjoy it with, or my health isn't good or something like that, then it becomes useless. So I think this framework really helps break down the components of a dream lifestyle. As you're doing this, I'm doing this sort of brainstorming and dreaming, I guess, dream storming, I'll call it. So that's, what do you need? What do you want? What do you already have? Who will you share it with? And when will you enjoy it? So this is what I've come down with for these 5 categories. These are my answers. So number 1, what do you need? The basics: food, water, housing. And I think those are pretty basic needs, right? If you think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that's like at the bottom of the pyramid. If you don't have those things, then you don't have anything. So I'm actually going to add in health, because health is something that I take for granted, and I don't want to take that for granted. I aim to live a healthy lifestyle. I aim to eat fresh foods wherever possible, focusing on veggies, fruit, and protein, and exercise as much as possible. And I'm of the mind that prevention is worth, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So that's the way that I aim to live. And I want to continue doing that and not take that for granted. But it does take some time and energy, and I want to be intentional about that and honor the time and energy that it takes to maintain my health. So the next question, what do you want? So these are the wants, and these also come into things that I'm very grateful for. So what do I want? I want a healthy family that I see often, with whom I have a good relationship. And as I'm reading it out loud, I'm like, do I really want to see them all? I love them. I love my family. I love my extended family. I love my husband's family. Frequency of visits, I appreciate them more. I'll just leave it there. I love my family. And I don't want to take that for granted because this is something I didn't have 3-4 years ago. So because all these things happened to me very quickly, I want to be very, very, I want to appreciate what I have. The next thing I want is financial independence. I want the ability to do whatever I want regardless of money. That's my definition of financial independence, and not be tied to a job. I'm going to add that in. I've got my laptop here. Regardless of money and not be tied to a job. The next thing I want is financial security. And for me, that means being able to respond to any needs as they come up. Because looking ahead, so I'm 40, and I know that while health is something we value and I don't anticipate anybody's health changing, I want to be prepared to address any needs that may come up in the future. And that's what financial security means to me. It's like my sister and I were talking, and there's a difference between being okay financially and being like good financially. And I think for a long time, I've just lived in that good section for a while. And I want to not be there. I want to be in the okay, you know, like the great financially, financial session or financial situation. The next thing I want is to be able to buy experiences for my family. So primarily that would be things like going on vacation, right? And then the next thing is in the wants category. And these are the very, I'm gonna say frivolous, but they're fairly non-essential. And that's things like decent clothes for my family, vacations, and I wanna add like housewares, houseware. Things like furniture, although we're pretty set with furniture, but little things. And I don't want to worry about like buying organization, things to be well organized. I put on my wish list that I wanted bath mats, and I don't want to think about buying bath mats. I want to be able to buy things that will improve my life or make them a little bit better without having to think twice about it. So those are my wants. These are the things that I want, right? Third component, what do you already have? So I already have a spouse, a child, an amazing dwelling in New York City, and an extended family that I love. So these are huge things. Who do I want to share my dream life with? And that would be my husband, my child, my extended family. And then the next question, the fifth question, is when will I enjoy it? And I want to enjoy it right now. I don't want to wait to enjoy my dream life. And again, this is where it gets a little bit sort of sketchy because yeah, it's important also to be able to rank your wants, right? It's sketchy because there are things that I want and I don't want those to stand in the way of what I ultimately want. But it's important to acknowledge them as components of my dream life. Like, this is my dream life. I get to dream as much as I want right here. And I want to dream and I want to not be afraid or embarrassed, but not feel bad about dreaming. And these are things that I really, really want. Okay, the final question of this annual money review is, how will I generate additional income to fund my dream lifestyle? This is another one where I don't want to say I get tripped up, but this portion tends to be a little bit challenging. In my situation, I already have streams of income. It's just increasing those streams of income. And that's been challenging. I've tried things in the past and I've gotten discouraged and I've shelved them and I haven't continued to work on them. But for me, at least, the challenge is working through those roadblocks and figuring out what didn't work and then trying it again. So if this idea didn't work, analyze it. What didn't work? What can you change? And how will you keep going in the future? So that's going to be my focus. I've mentioned I have these 5 streams of income already. I have my W-2 job. I have this YouTube AdSense revenue, the Amazon influencer revenue, freelance revenue, and then revenue from eBay or e-com. So those are 4 additional streams of income in addition to my W-2. And I know that if I were to apply myself, I would be able to grow those streams of income. So that's certainly going to be my focus for this upcoming year. So there you have it. That is my annual money review for 2022. Now that we're in the beginning of 2023, that's kind of a look back on my finances and a look forward into what's coming this year and what I hope to bring about. I feel like I've spent some time really dreaming as well as doing the hard data and analysis of the numbers that came before, and all that builds a solid foundation to working forward in 2023. So I thank you so much for watching this far. If you have any questions, just let me down in the comments below. Have you ever done an annual money review? Is this something that you do regularly? If you do, let me know. If not, let me know that too. I love interacting with you in the comments. So thanks again for watching, and I hope you'll keep watching. Bye.